And we want to head overseas now for a moment because we have some new details that are coming in on what is going on in the streets of Iran. There are deadly protests underway. Information, as you might imagine, is a bit hard to come by in terms of what's going on. This is amateur video that you're looking at here. The regime is cracking down on its own people. We are hearing that 2 people have died, and we have been getting a little bit of cell phone video in, but, you know, they're not one to let all the cameras in to watch this unfold either. Iran, of course, is blasting U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton after she made some very pointed criticism of the regime's treatment of the Iranian protesters after they seemed to really think that what was happening in Egypt was a great idea. Listen to this.
A regime which, over the last 3 weeks, has constantly hailed what went on in Egypt. And now, when given the opportunity to afford their people the same rights as they called for on behalf of the Egyptian people, once again illustrate their true nature.
Very interesting comments from the Secretary of State. We welcome back Michael Scheuer, who is a former CIA counterterrorism analyst and the former head of the CIA's bin Laden unit. Michael, welcome back. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
You know, I want to get your reaction first to Hillary Clinton's comments and what you think about what's going on in the streets of Tehran right now.
I thought Mrs. Clinton sounded like a very bloodthirsty person. She's nice and safe here in the United States, and she's urging those kids in Iran to go out on the streets and get themselves shot. Mrs. Clinton is just a perfect example of what your previous guest, Mr. Paul, talks about. We have an elite in this country that wants to interfere in everyone else's affairs, and it does nothing over the long term except get people killed and hurt the United States.
You know, I'm very struck by your comments, and I heard another foreign policy specialist, pretty well known, talk about this morning. He said, you know what, there will be blood shed on the streets in Tehran, believing that this is a whole different story when you look at the situation that lays out there. And yet there were so many critics of President Obama for not encouraging the people to rebel and revolt against their government in Tehran, you know, not too long ago, a couple months back.
Well, I wasn't one of them. I always think the best thing for the United States president to do is to keep his mouth shut. But Mr. Obama, Mr. Bush believe that somehow what we have built in North America over the last 800 years, really since Runnymede, can be transferred to the streets of Tehran or Cairo or Tunis on a CD-ROM. And they're going to end up getting a lot of people killed. And they're also, as we watch, they're destroying the basis of U.S. foreign policy in the Muslim world. So this is really a tragedy unfolding that we're going to be, at least in part, responsible for.
All right. Well, we will give those words some thought. Very strong take on this, as always. Michael Scheuer, we really appreciate your input, and we're going to be watching this situation for some time. Hope to get your thoughts on it again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.